From the virtual studios of the Department of Communication in Phillipsburg, this is the International Women's Day 2021. Hashtag Choose to Challenge, all about business panel discussion with moderator Amanda Vital Bedminster.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for investing your time with us on a Tuesday evening. My name is Amanda Vital Bedminster, and I am your moderator for the entirety of this program. Today we have an amazing panel on all about business, where we'll be talking about business startups, the trends in business, and how to keep our eyes on that which could directly impact our businesses. But before we dive into the panel introductions, I want to mention who is responsible for this event and why we are having these discussions. Women's Desk, a division within Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs, in collaboration with prominent women, hosted a series of activities for the month of March in recognition of Women History Month. I like to say Her Story Month. Their collaborative efforts brought awareness to International Women's Day and hosted 3 information sessions that took place on Tuesday evenings, which touched on important topics such as empowerment, spirituality, mental health, and nutrition. Our goal today for the final activity to close off the International Women's Day campaign is that whatever your role is in this industry, that you will come away with something, a new idea, a fresh perspective, a new strategy that you can apply to be more successful or that can assist you in starting your business. So here's the format to give you an idea of what to expect. We'll take a few minutes for each of the panelists to briefly introduce themselves and tell a little bit about their background in the industry. I'll kick off the conversation asking questions that draw out some of the themes and trends we should be thinking about. And thirdly, the second half of our time today, we'll open up the floor to give you an opportunity to ask specific questions that you've been thinking about to help you navigate the upcoming opportunities and challenges to be more successful in your business. That sounds good, right? I think so. I really do. I am intensely interested in the topic, and I want to gain insights by our panelists. So let's get started with the panel introductions. This evening, we have Mrs. Justine Webster Rumley. She's a daughter of the soil who was born on St. Martin. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in business management. And after returning home, Mrs. Webster pursued her professional career in the public administration, where she dedicated 27 years within the civil service corps. Mrs. Webster is currently the Senior Policy Advisor and Acting Head of the Department of Economic Licenses within the Ministry of TIAT. The Department of Economic Licenses is responsible for the processing and issuance of all economic licenses. Mrs. Webster has extensive knowledge in the public administration within her department and is still adamantly passionate about her job. Since she initially started in 1994, she continues to execute her duties with the same dedication and commitment. Kindly help me welcome to the virtual platform, Mrs. Justine Webster Rumley. Our second panelist, Ife Badijo, a serial entrepreneur, innovator, business connector, and speaker. She's also a media enthusiast and loves to showcase her island. She's internationally recognized, winning business expert focused on increasing visibility, effectivity, and profitability for her clients. She's committed to equipping islandpreneurs to build smarter, digital, and global businesses. Ife is the founder and Cxo, we're gonna find out what that means, Cxo, of Produce Wealth Revolution Agency, what we know as Power. Ife has a passion for capacity building and networking, We're going to talk a little bit more to Ife in a few. So help me welcome to the virtual platform, Ife Badijo. Our third, but certainly not the least, Mr. Etzel Gums. Let me say that correctly. Gums is the youngest of 4 siblings. They were all born on St. Martin from parents that are also local bred. Etzel graduated from MPC and went abroad to the United States to further his studies. Only when he lived in another country, he developed the patriotic mindset for St. Martin on a conscious level. Etzel realized during his stay in the US that St. Martin wasn't as popular as we think it is or want it to be. He then made a conscious decision to do what it takes to help get St. Martin on the map. He later came back home and obtained a bachelor's degree in marketing from the University of Curaçao. Together with his patriotic activism, he aims for an international reach to market St. Martin for what, where, and who it is. He's now actively putting himself in positions where he can help accomplish these goals by exercising social and business development via workshops, personal contact, and social media. Since becoming vocal on social media about the need of social development, and since winning the Chamber of Commerce business plan competition, it opened many doors where people now trust his ability to teach this knowledge. He also serves in the banking and loan industry for the last 7 years, namely WIB and Credits. Please help me welcome to the virtual platform, Mr. Etzel Gums. Ooh, so we have 3 dynamic, and when I say dynamic, business persons, entrepreneurs, islandpreneurs, St. Martin first, powerhouses in this discussion this evening. And I am so enthusiastic to hear what you have to say. So first and foremost, I like to go deep down into things. We're going to let you introduce yourselves, and then we're going to do the deep dive so that we could get this topic off and running. So I'm going to give the floor to Mrs. Justine Webster so that she can give us a bit about the business, well, actually economic departments, licenses, some background information on what she does. Mrs. Webster.
Thank you, Ms. Amanda Vital. Good evening, viewers. As Ms. Amanda, during her introduction, indicated that economic licenses, what we do within the Ministry of TIAT, we process and issue all types of economic licenses. For persons that wants to start a business, one of the things that they would need is a business license. Business licenses are issued to NVs, BVs, even sole proprietorships. Directors also need a business license if these directors were not born on St. Martin or any island of the former Netherlands Antilles. So in any aspect, all persons who engage in any economic activity would require a business license. So we're talking about persons that have restaurants, clothing stores, jewelry stores, even the vendors also need a vending license. So to cap it off, that's what we do, is process and issue all type of economic licenses. Our office is currently located in the government building, where we have our customer service counter located on the 1st floor. Our administrative and executive offices are located on the 3rd floor. And that's a nutshell of what we do.
Thank you for that introduction and a quick background into what you do at the economics department. Thank you for that. Ms. Ife, you're most welcome. Ms. Ife Badijo, you have the virtual floor.
First off, thank you so much for having me. It is a true honor to be with all of you this evening. And it is also an honor to be with such esteemed guests. and to have this kind of discussion. The Power Agency, as we like to call it, is focused on entrepreneurship and innovation development, specifically for entrepreneurs on small islands. And so that looks like a variety of things, from created programs that we've designed for Red Cross or Micro Mentor, to individualized programs and services for small businesses, and also for corporate training for growing businesses or those that want to innovate in the digital age. So we provide all three of those services. And to your previous question, what is a CXO? A CXO is actually a Chief Experience Officer. And when I started the business, I thought I was creating something cool and cute because I have a thing for words. And when I looked it up after I started the business, I realized that that is actually a term. So a Chief Experience Officer goes through the entire experience and makes sure that the customer and stakeholders have an amazing experience from point A to point B. And that's what we also do here at the Power Agency.
Thank you so much, Ife, Chief Experience Officer. Thank you for giving us that experience this evening already. So we know we're going to experience quite a bit of things from everyone that's going to be on the panel. And with that said, let's experience who Mr. Edsel Gums is and what he's bringing to the table this evening. Mr. Gums, you have the virtual floor. I am not hearing you, the volume. Probably you're on mic. You're on mute, excuse me.
Yes, excuse me,
yes.
I was. Sorry. Good evening to everyone. Good evening to all the listeners and viewers on social media, and to my fellow guest panelists. I am Edsel Gums, as mentioned. I came from the banking industry. I am now not in a bank specifically, but we are a credit institution called Credits, not Q Credits, but Credits. We have 90% of people call it Q Credit, so this is my chance to correct that. And what we do primarily is we issue microloans to startup and existing businesses that either have working capital needs or for assets as well. I guess when we get down a bit deeper, you would understand a bit more on the type of loans. But in a nutshell, we provide loans and we provide mentorship and coaching as well that comes along with the loans. As we know, prior to Credits, it was a huge, let's just say, a difficulty getting assistance and guidance in obtaining a business loan. So we practically try to cover the entire package here at Credits.
Thank you so much, Edsel. So we could see already that we have a diverse panelists that's going to touch on how can we get our business set up properly from the onset, and as well as how we can get the resources to do that, as well as coaching and how to innovate and how to make our business expand and blow, and using the trends that are currently available. So definitely my mind is already popping and ready to go. And I'm going to go straight into the deep dive of asking Mrs. Webster, especially where economic department is concerned, because we want to get people to start their businesses. What do they need to do in order to begin? You're on mute, yes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
First of all, it depends what type of business license persons are requesting. Most of the time, if persons are requesting a business license for NV or BV, they will start at a notary. The notary will incorporate the company and they do the entire administration for them. The notary do the registration at chamber and also the petition for their clients for the business, and may also the director's license. So most of the time to go with their application, they would need a deed of incorporation. They would need for the directors a copy of their passports. For foreign directors, we need a copy of their police records or police clearance, so to speak. So that's in a nutshell, basically the documents that would be required. But normally you would have the notary that would take them through the entire process, and the submission of the application will be done at economic licenses. And then our office will then process the license and have the decision made on granting the license, and eventually the license is issued to the client.
Thank you. So I like the last word that you said, the granting of the license, because definitely after you've granted the license, what happens next? What happens next to the individual who wants to start business? And especially if they are in need of assistance with business plans, if they're in assistance of need of resources. So I'm going to come over to Cxos and Ife on this one. And of course, you're going to start wherever you want to start. With stating what happens next after this license have been issued. Ife, you would like to go?
Sure. I just also would like to add to what Mrs. Webster indicated for the audience. And since I also sit on the board of the Chamber of Commerce,
right?
I feel almost obligated to say this, even though I cannot speak necessarily on behalf of chambers. But if you're going to set up a formal business, you have to be registered by the Chambers of Commerce. From Mrs. Webster's perspective, when you're doing NV or BV, a foundation, some business activities happen in foundations to become more sustainable. All of that is usually done through the notary. But if you're going to do a sole proprietorship, particularly if you are born in former Netherlands or born on St. Martin, you come directly to the Chamber of Commerce. And there are also options of doing that online that is coming to fruition. If not, part of it has already been done. So I feel obligated to say that, just so that you don't think that for every kind of business you run to the notary.
Correct.
That's not necessarily true.
Correct.
And then to your point about what happens after, I think oftentimes people think about a business plan too late in the game.
Thank you.
And so a business plan is thought of, or your business model. I prefer to use business modeling when coaching my clients, because business plan is usually when you have to go to credits and get a loan. But in many cases, people can start a business with their phone and their laptop and internet. So you don't need a business plan for that, but you do need to know what kind of business you're in. And so there's a tool that I use often called the Lean Model Canvas.
Right.
And if you're a growing business, the Business Model Canvas, to be able to help you strategize and understand all of the components of your business. And if you are doing that after the business license, you're already in trouble. That needs to be done way before. Because some of the costs, and I know we're going to get into this, but some of the challenges of doing business in St. Martin is the cost of doing business in St. Martin. It is expensive to go to the notary and set up your NV or BV. It is expensive to get the different, there is a cost attached to the different licenses that are required. So you want to have a very clear idea, and I leave that over to Edson, who has much more financial experience than I do. But it is very much important for you to count the cost before you're going to go ahead and build your business. So running to just jump and do a business is never a good thing. And that pains me to say, as a person who has done that and loves the action of entrepreneurship, where I'm like, yes, let's go, let's do this. But the smart way is to think it through and to get advice. And so the Power Agency is, of course, here to support you in coaching and helping you think through your business model. But you also have credits that's there as well to support you in getting that plan together for financing.
And that's where we have the process, because there's a process to business. It doesn't just begin like that. It definitely, you have an idea, but you have to put everything down. You have to make the vision plain, as we would say it. And with that saying, once we got that vision, we have to look, how much money do we have in our pockets? How realistic is this particular plan? And where we can get this funding to help us, the resources. So I'm going to go directly into credits. Who's going to, and credits as in Etzel Guns. You're known as Mr. Credits. You're practically the face of the company. You're going to share with us on the resources. How can we get funding? How can persons apply for funding, etc.?
Yes. If I may, I would like to first start off where Ife left off.
Yes.
And yes, referring to the plan and the model. Even prior to that, there's the research. I mean, she practically touched base on that as well, but not research in the sense of coming up with an idea per se. Persons, many persons believe, it's, I have to come up with an idea, and then as soon as I got the idea, I just start writing the business plan. But there's a lot of research that is involved prior to even putting the pen to the paper. Most persons that you speak to, sitting in the seat that I'm sitting, when you ask a lot of things, even, simple or most common things that you would assume that they would have researched before you go into a specific business. Let's just say, as an example, if you wanted to sell baby clothes, just as an example, you need to know how many babies are, being born per year, for instance. But not even to say, down to that would be research prior to writing a business plan. Another thing is that we actually don't research much at all. We do have third parties that we ask to help us to write these plans. That's okay, but once you sit right beside them and be coached along the way, then I guess you should be fine. Not everyone's forte is, not everyone has the skills to research exactly everything they need to research. I know that we have, struggle with, I can't even say with data, because there's no data, almost virtually no data on the island. So we have to play a lot of our decisions by feeling, by eyesight, and by, speaking. And that's why it is very important to seek advice, speak to persons that are already in the field to get a feel of what's going on, because it's one of the only ways that we can know almost for sure, there's never for certain, that you have a chance of going down in that direction. And then when you get there and you write your business plan, one of the most needed things, of course, is funding, where, again, as I started off, that was also a difficult aspect on the island, where, especially for startup businesses, there was nowhere we could go to get assistance in starting your business. It isn't as easy as it sounds. Yes, the opportunity is there, but the work has to be put in. The opportunity itself has to be there. There's the driver of the car and there's the car itself, and one without the next, no one would be moving. So you can't have a good business idea without someone personally developing their business skills to manage that business, and you can't have someone that has the business skills in a particular area or field, but doesn't come up with a proper idea to execute. So you have to have a bit of the both of the package, a perfect balance. Before coming to a credit institution, of course, you can ask questions, but we find too much times that we have persons that is walking in to a credit institution even before the idea is formed.
Wow.
So I would like to give the biggest advice in the sense of where the ladies left off, and finding out more information in the sense of what comes before getting the funding and before opening and registering the business. I know we're gonna get a lot more deeper into this, but that's what I really wanted to add on to what Ife said.
So there's a checks and balances in actuality. Do your checks and balances. And I also hear the word coaching quite a bit, because what we realize is that individuals need coaching. So with that said, and you already mentioned quite a bit of pain points and challenges within the business spectrum, I would like for you to further go into that particular area. What pain points do you see, additional pain points do you see in the fields, in the various fields that you're in, and challenges? Who would like to go first?
I'll jump in.
Do that. Do that.
Because I literally deal with this every single day.
Right.
So I touched on about the cost of doing business, and
Right.
and so to start up your business is costly, especially if you want to set up an NV or a BV. At that level, you're talking already at $2,500
Right.
easy out the gate, and that is That is before you sell popcorn, you sell your nail service, you sell, before you do any sales, that's out the gate. So understanding the different kinds of business structures, understanding a little bit about the tax structure as well, and where you need to start. Now you can start as a sole proprietorship and grow to a NV or a BV. There's nothing wrong with starting small. I keep on telling my entrepreneurs there is nothing wrong with starting small. Facebook did not start out in Silicon Valley. It started out in a garage, okay? So let's stay focused. And then the other pain points, particularly now because of COVID-19 and the digital world that we're living in, is that we don't have digital payments or easy digital payments. There are some things that are being shifted in that space. So the banks are coming out with some solutions, and there are some things that are on the horizon. But this idea of how people spend is the way they would like to receive the money. So the way we go on Amazon and just put in our information and boom, we know it's paid and we know that it's going to take a couple of days to receive the product, is the way that, or that you paid it immediately and you're getting your course or service immediately, is the way that we expect to do business now. And going through the different hurdles in that area is a big challenge. There are some changes that are coming, but they're not here yet. And so those are the two main pain points. I can't tell you enough how many times I get a phone call saying, Ife, what's going on with digital payments?
I think we've had that conversation as well. I could bring my business out here.
Yes, we've had that conversation as well. And the reality of it is that what people are doing in lieu of is they're going and setting up their businesses elsewhere. They're setting it up on the French side. They're setting it up in the US. They're setting it up elsewhere to be able to get digital payments. And then that poses a potential challenge for regulatory bodies to find out where the tax lies and where it goes and how it functions.
Movement of finances.
Exactly. Right. So that is really something that we need to really be careful and think through, because even our tourists want to be able to function easily. They want to be able to stay here for 2 weeks and know that their business is not going to crash because they don't have proper internet infrastructure or payment setup. And so we need to be very cognizant of the time that we're living in. And I think, I think that's changing. But for me, it could have changed already. But, patience is a virtue. And I think entrepreneurs in general have a patience issue. They have the idea and they want to go ahead and make it a reality immediately. And that's not how life works. So you have to also endure the process. Another challenge, quickly, before we go on, is that not everyone is set up to be an entrepreneur. And that's okay.
Yeah.
So I know entrepreneur right now is like the celebrity of all jobs, right? I want to have my own business, but if you can't get up 5 o'clock in the morning to read a book, there's no way you can run your own business, because the level of discipline and the level of personal and professional development that is required, the level of emotional intelligence, the level of mental health that is required to start an idea and bring it to fruition and monetize effectively, and what's required to go through the lows as much as it is to go through the highs, that you need to really be ready for that game. So when we coach, we also look at things like that, because if you're in it for the money, get you a job. Don't build a business, because the first 2 to 3 years, I mean, that's statistical. You're not going to see profit necessarily. And if you didn't do the kind of homework that Edsel is talking about and that Mrs. Webster just talked about, then you're not going to see that kind of profit out the gate, because you need to do so much homework to analyze how that profit is going to come. And the other side of that is that we live in a hurricane belt. So every 6 months, we got to worry about what the weather is going to do. And if you're not planning right, you're setting yourself up for failure. So it's not just about, I want to start my own business, or, I need to do money. It's, are you willing to become the person that you need to be financially independent? And that is a mindset first.
It starts with your mindset. Definitely starts with your mindset. So we could already say that's a challenge for quite a bit of individuals, setting our minds to be an entrepreneur or to do the work in actuality, just to do the work and to be.
Absolutely.
Pain points and challenges, Mrs. Webster.
One of the things that I've experienced over the years working at the department is that most entrepreneurs, one of their complaints is the process takes a long time. We hear that a lot. I must say, over the years, we have come a long way. We have come a long way to streamline our processes, and we are still working towards that. So we can say that we made strides in this area, but there's always room for improvement. So we are always also working towards that. And one of the things moving forward in this digital age is to accommodate our clients out there, is to provide a digital format for applying for licenses.
Nice.
So that's something that eventually will be coming out sometime during the year that we could roll out, that someone can send in an application from home, from their office,
from their phone.
So that's making good strides.
Oh, that's awesome news. We definitely love to hear that. And I could see Ike is even the happier.
Yes, she is. I can see that. Yes.
Etzel, thank you so much, Mrs. Webster. Etzel, tell us what you think one of the pain points you see within credits and challenges for business and entrepreneurs.
Yes, I can start off with actually the ones that Ife mentioned are my top pain points in general for the island. You know, the internet, the no data, the lack of having data, as I mentioned a bit earlier, the online payments. Ife and I spoke about that millions of times as well. But from the persons I encounter, let's start off with the challenges with credits is that we are a small staff with high demand. I mentioned earlier, there was no other place that persons could have gone to get advice and start their businesses with the funding. So you could imagine just by that alone, the type of, the amount of applications that we get per day or per week. It's very difficult to keep up with. Also because, again, a lot of persons that come in that are not 100% prepared, it forces us to have to put in more effort into, you know, the loan processing, because we have to give mentorship, advice, and guidance for persons that are not prepared. So that also slows it down a bit. Another peeve of mine through the process is that because of the slow processing time, we have persons to say with quitting mentality, or feel that, you know, the process is too tedious. You know, I have to bring this, why they want this document and that document. We're talking about persons that want their dream, you know, funding to create their dream, and the handing in of documents is an issue. And if it goes on too long, and even if it's, you know, let's just say if it's a fault on our end, something took too long for whatever reason, and I hear you ever say that you feel like giving up or you quit, that's definitely my first sign to say that you're not ready for business. Because the amount of hardship, stress, downtimes that you're gonna go through, I mean, all of that emotional education that Ife was just referring to, if you don't have that mentality, you're not gonna survive through business anyway. So, you know, I do keep a keen eye on persons that, and it's no problem to complain about the process, but to quit is a different story. So I'm not too fond of quitters at all, even since I was a teen, you know, playing sport. Another issue, a challenge, so to speak, is the lack of planning. Again, we kind of touched base on that while we're going through the steps on how they're gonna operate their own business. You know, there's no research done at all. And it's not because they know, it's not always because they know they have to do a lot of research and they don't want to do it. It's just the lack of education in the business field. So, hey, let's just say one of the problems is that, we should have proper business classes in primary school, or in high schools to introduce those type of courses in there. We don't, So a lot of what I'm talking about, I don't necessarily blame the individual, but I do ask them to be more curious, understand that we, not you, but we, all of us, we don't know everything. But other persons that know something and the other person know a little bit more and the other person know a little bit more. That's why networking events is very nice to go to. You learn a lot, you meet a lot of people. As we say, as we know, in St. Martin is sometimes people say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So just knowing that alone should be having you by networking events as well. But that would kind of round it up with, okay, no. I have something else noted down.
We have some questions coming in, because the second segment is about to begin. So tell me what's the last one you would like to say.
The last one is in the accounting field. I understand that we all are not accountants, but we do have to understand the importance of understanding our numbers within the business. And I don't even know why I'm saying within the business, because the numbers are the business, the number is the business. It translates into every decision you should be making, when you should take on staff, leave go staff, up prices, down prices, open later, close, everything surrounds around the numbers. So the more you understand the numbers, I understand that in school, a lot of us used to say, we don't like math and we don't understand why we're learning math. It took me some time to understand the importance of math as well. But again, yes, the accountants are important, but you do have to have at least a basic understanding of what is being prepared for your financial statements, so you could know what decisions to make in the near or further future to, sustain.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Ed. So that was a mouthful. I think one of the things that I definitely I took from this is this quitter's mentality. This is team no quit. We are not quitting, not in entrepreneurship. You're going to do this and do this well. That's why you have to have the mindset. We're open for questions, and we definitely have two questions that are in already. So I'm going to ask. They're both for Etzel, and then of course you can chime in, guys. So the first question, I'm going to try and read this because it's kind of small. Etzel, do we have a Bureau of Statistics on the island that can facilitate the research needed to be done to be eligible at credits? So do we have a Bureau of Statistics on the island that can facilitate the research needed? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. When you say the research needed pertaining to information about credits itself?
Eligibility for credits, right?
Okay, yes. We have lots of information on our website. Unfortunately, we are not a reading type of people. So no, it's fact. So we also decided to go through other routes. We started to spend a lot of time on our Facebook page trying to engage with our Facebook users. People tend to not go too much to websites anymore. So we're trying to make a slight shift as well to get some of the information out there. We also have, well, right now, we don't have any walk-ins because of the COVID situation and the high traffic. So you have to set an appointment. But when you do, or if you do, you could either have the appointment by phone or in person, and you could then get the information in person. For some reason, we do have an email template also that we send to clients with all the information, but it's just a cultural thing where we want to look the person in the eye directly and still, get the information. But we're really trying to work on, because, it's difficult to understand the high demand and the traffic at the point of time when you're visiting, because you have to be here the entire day to see what's going on. But our efforts is to try to get as much information as possible out there without having to schedule an appointment if we can. But to answer your question in a short way, outside of credits, no, there is not any bureau to go into to get any information from credits. You have to contact us directly.
I was going to ask you the same thing, Ife, especially seeing that you're working with Chamber, you're on the Chamber board, and as well as seeing how entrepreneurship has grown with doing Islandpreneur and the different networking events. What does your statistics show?
So to add to Etzel's point, I think sometimes, yes, there is a lack of data for a lot of the information, but at the same time, there is still a lot of data out there. But you have to be creative of where you find it. The World Bank, for example, has done extraordinary research on businesses and the economic dynamics, central bank as well. Those locations have publicized their stuff, so you may have to do a different kind of a research. And to Etzel's point, though, I mean, we're a little bit spoiled on Samaritan. Let's just talk plain. We're spoiled. So instead of going and saying, I will spend 20 minutes to do a proper Google search, or spend 20 minutes on YouTube learning how to do a proper Google search, you want Etzel to come and tell you exactly what it is that you need to do to get your business going. But Etzel has to serve 500 entrepreneurs that week. So he is tapped out at how much information he has to give for your individualized business. And I'd also like to emphasize that it is your business. You are ultimately responsible for how it functions and what you do with it. So yes, there may be a lack of clarity of where you can get data, but that is one thing that you can do. In the past 5 years or so, especially because of Hurricane Irma and COVID-19 and having these different bigger organizations involved, you do have that information. From the perspective of Chamber, we, as a newly appointed executive board member, we're very focused on being data-driven. And so, and also with the new director, you will also see that there's more information. In the past few months, there has been a lot more information provided. But to your direct question about what does our statistics show from the Power Agency, it shows that people want to do business online. And that's like the clearest statistic. We have done several researches. We have done it privately. We've done it also publicly. We've done it on behalf of other companies. And that is the red line. People want to be able to make money from their laptop and their phones and not have to stress too much about how that works, because that's the world that we live in. And so if you want to do that, though, you also have to learn. You have to develop different kinds of skill sets and not just kind of wait for the world to hand it to you. So entrepreneurship is never about sitting down and waiting. Entrepreneurship is always about taking action. You may have to autocorrect course. You may have to change method. You may have to, I mean, me and Etzel have talked about different ways that I have done my business. I had a physical space, then I scaled that down and I went completely digital. You may have to do all of that, but you have to be proactive.
Thank you so much, Ife. Mrs. Webster, I'm thinking in course of economic departments, how has the growth been for the last 2 years? I know shocks normally trigger persons to either have their own businesses, etc. How has that been in the economic department, the issuance of license? Has that increased in the last 2 years? You're on mute. I'm sorry.
I keep forgetting. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
In the last 2 years, yes, you've seen specific trends in certain businesses that people apply for most. And especially going back a little further after Irma, like we noticed a lot of persons get into the construction industry. So we have numerous construction companies that are entrepreneurs that applied for business licenses in construction. And we've noticed also persons apply for companies in the cleaning aspect as well. So those are the two areas. We also saw a trend also in food and beverage preparations, like little restaurants in those areas. And also basically those are the common areas that we saw a trend
Increase.
of businesses over the
Great.
last 2 to 3 years.
Thank you for that. We have some additional questions. Etzel, again, they're asking, does credit also give loans to someone that wants to open a foundation or organization? Do credits give loans for that?
Yes, we do. The shortest answer to that is once you're able to register your business at the Dutch Chamber of Commerce, Dutch as in on the Dutch side of the island, then you're eligible to apply at credits. That's the easiest way to say it. So once you're, because some persons, they have apartments and they say, hey, but that's business, I make money. I said, are you registered at the Chamber of Commerce? No, then it's not a business. So at least a registered business. So once you're registered at the chamber, then you are eligible to apply at credits.
Great. I have one more question. How long does the process for a company to obtain the loan, how long does that process take?
Yes, I just responded to one of the comments that asked the same question. Actually, this is the most popular question we get. How long will the money take? But again, the shortest answer possible is it's a case-by-case situation. It's not a personal loan where, let's just say you come for a car loan, you have a salary, and it's just math. This is the amount you make, this is the amount you spend in bills. Do you have enough left to afford the month-to-month loan payments? When it comes to business, as we know, income fluctuates. There's sometimes that we don't have a cash flow, and there's sometimes that we do. So the assessment to find out whether or not someone can indeed afford a loan on a monthly basis for the next 4 to 6 years, it takes a lot more calculations, so to speak, to make such a decision. Again, remember in the beginning I said, we have to find out if the person behind the scenes is capable of operating the plan that they delivered. Or if the plan is good enough in the first place, or maybe the plan is good, the person behind the scenes is good, but we don't have a market with such a demand on this island for this type of plan. So there's a lot of different aspects as to what may make it take a bit longer. Sometimes you yourself need to bring a certain document that it takes a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to prepare or to go get. It's just one of the most difficult questions I am often faced with. But what we try to do, let's say on an aspect where we have everything is clear. I already know in my mind that, okay, this is a loan that we can fund. It really only takes 2 to 3 days to write one application. But because of the high demand of how many applications we get, you can times that number by 3 sometimes. So it could take sometimes 1 month, sometimes it goes up to 4 and 5 months. I've had persons that waited 6 or 7 for different reasons. Again, with the things about getting a document, they had to go back for something or what's not. But in short, I would say just keep your eyes on the prize, sell your business, do your research, do what you can do on your end, and we will do what we're doing on our end. The questions of asking, are we done yet? It doesn't speed the process up. It probably eases your anxiety a bit, but yeah.
Patience is a virtue.
Patience is a virtue, but the results itself shows, because the most frustrated clients, I always tell them, so I stopped being frustrated myself through their frustration because I sat on the seat long enough now to know and to see the smiles that comes on their face if, for approved loans, not the ones that are put on aside to say, hey, you have to do this and that, and then you can come back to credits. But for those approved loans, it's nothing greater than the smiles that we witness, especially for persons that we know waited quite long during the application process. But it is a lengthy process, but it's years worth of celebration if we both succeed in this the contract that we would enter into, the relationship we would enter into. So again, a few months of sacrifice for a few years or eternity of your dreams.
Thank you so much, Edsel. We are winding down to the hour. It is so funny how time just disappears, and we just have a couple minutes left before we shut down this evening session. But with that, I'm definitely want to give each of you an opportunity to share some closing remarks. Let us know what you think is necessary, what are some actionable insights for our entrepreneurs going forward. What are your future um, your future perspectives? What do you see? Let it be our last closing remarks so that we could at least inspire anyone that is listening this evening. I'm going to start with Mrs. Justine Webster. You have, of course, 2 minutes to solidify your closing remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, indeed, time do fly.
Yes.
As my closing remark, I touched on something that I know a lot of clients really would entertain is the digital application of of license requests. And living in the digital age we are living in today, government is definitely keeping up with this trend. So, and one of the other areas that we were working towards, it's trying to give as much information to the public as possible, using the means that we have on the different media platforms. Persons have still a lot of questions about the different licenses that they can obtain, and the questions, how long does it take? All of these are questions that our clients would like to know. So we are definitely working towards, entertaining and improving our process. That's one of the things that we are looking forward to going forward. So I hope we were able to answer most of the questions, and we're always here. They can always get in contact with our department for whatever questions that you have moving
Thank
forward.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Webster. Miss Ife Badijo, Cxo.
No pressure. 2
None
minutes.
at all.
Okay. All right. I'll do my best. I would like to remind our people, whether you were born here or you belong here, the Samaritan spirit is entrepreneurial by nature. Our forefathers built everything brick by brick, block by block. And so, in understanding that and living through that legacy, let not their blood, sweat, tears, sacrifices go in vain. Let's also find ways to be entrepreneurial in this age, in an age where crisis is the new norm. We went from Hurricane Irma Cat 5 to COVID-19 global pandemic, which only happens in 100 years or so. So let's be very cognizant of the times that we live in. The same way how it takes a village to raise a child, it takes an entire village to build a business. So if you know someone is entrepreneurial, has a business, support their business. If you know that someone is starting something, share it on Facebook. The same way how we share bad news with a quickness, let's share the good news that people are striving for better and for more. Let's not just focus on all the negativity that's going out there. There are people on this island who are doing phenomenal. When I tell you phenomenal, I mean phenomenal work, internationally recognized work. And so we need to continue to support them in their growth and in their progress. Last and certainly not least, I don't have Islandpreneur here for no reason, right? So we have our annual event. Last year we kicked off. We had 650 people registered from 35 different countries. This year it's going to be phenomenal, June 2nd to 4th. Please mark those dates. That is a place where you get to connect with islandpreneurs all over the world, on St. Martin, on Curacao, Dominica, India, Australia. I mean, we had it all. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is that we are launching a accelerator program for those who want to be in e-commerce. We want to take you from an idea to a money-making website in that program. I have actually jumped the gun. I was supposed to announce this a few months later, but I'm going to do it now. And then, of course, Mr. Gums and Mrs. Webster and also Mrs. Bedminster, I will be talking to you all in due time. So, but those are some things that are happening. So to say that nothing is happening on St. Martin is not true. We do have challenges, but there has been significant growth. And let's also celebrate the growth and not just focus on the challenges.
Thank you so much, Ife, for that. Edsel Gums, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, so I'm just gonna run through the 3 points that I have. I guess this one just speaks for itself, so I could just say it and then jump right back off. But I would like to encourage, especially the entrepreneur or the aspiring entrepreneurs, or even persons that are already entrepreneurs, because even if you're in business already, there's always a lot more development that you can do. I want to say a little less Netflix and a little more YouTube. You know, we have a lot of coaches locally too, but we have a lot of coaches on YouTube as well. When you really watch these episodes and seasons and you really count up the hours that you put into Netflix, man, I mean, it's a degree worth of hours, like a college degree worth of hours that you are putting into entertainment. And of course, entertainment is all good, but you have to balance it out with a little bit of work. Let's just say a lot bit of work. I'm not even gonna make it sound, if it's for entrepreneurship, lot work, little bit of entertainment. Another thing that I want to leave the viewers with is to think out the box when it comes to business. It is an issue of saturation on the island. Mrs. Webster just mentioned the trends for the last 2 to 3 years is in 3 industries. And so I was correct, all of that. I was mentioning to persons, about the 3 industries credits is getting in, and then Ms. Webster mentioned those same 3 industries. So we do have a problem. Yes, it makes money, but if we have too many people going into the same business on this little small teeny bitty island, it is not gonna work out. Yes, the strongest will survive, but we want everyone to try to survive. We don't want one knocking out the next out of business and just say, bad luck to you, you should have done better. And the last thing I want to say is I want to encourage entrepreneurs to work together. We also have a mindset, because it's a small island and because some persons have been burnt before when it comes to their business ideas. They tend to, cringe to the idea and not want to speak about it to anyone at all. You don't necessarily have to speak out the idea in detail, but you have to get some advice. You have to tag along with other business owners. We know that everyone else who is doing good business on the island, owning industries on this island, is because they work together. So we have to find ways to work together to cut some costs. And that is what I want to leave the viewers with.
And thank you so very much. I have to do a drive-through right about now. Thank you so much. I'd like to express sincere gratitude to our panelists in their participation in this evening's discussion. Thank you, Mrs. Justine Webster Rubley, for eloquently sharing on the new trends that government is seeking to implement soon. We are definitely looking forward to that. Thank you, Ife Badijo, for encouraging us to keep the St. Martin spirit, which is entrepreneurial by nature, and of course, to support our local businesses. We definitely need that. Thank you, Edsel Gums, as well, for encouraging and inspiring entrepreneurs to say less Netflix and more YouTube. Go through the process and think out of the box. Thank you so much. Listen, it took a lot of different people to pull this successful panel together, and we consider those that listen via St. Martin Gov Radio and our FB page, St. Martin Gov FB page. We thank you for being here. The hosts and organizers of this event, Women's Desk a division within the Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs and Prominent Women, the St. Martin government for sponsoring the entire month of activities in lieu of Her Story Month, DCOM for their professionalism, management, and platform for this event. Last but not least, we are grateful to God who made heaven and earth in order for us to have a productive month of events. With that said, I am your host, Amanda Vital, Bed Minister. Good evening and God bless each one of you.
Good evening.